Hello, welcome to Agriculture Form 2. We are now on topic number 3, and this is agriculture and climate change. Remember, last time we were looking on soil fertility, where we looked on the differences between soil fertile and the soil which is not fertile. Then later on, we looked on one of the main ways through which soil fertility can be maintained, that's through application of fertilizer. So we looked on the two main types of fertilizer, that's organic and inorganic. So thereafter we looked on the characteristics of organic fertilizer, then later on we looked on the characteristics of inorganic fertilizer, not forgetting the advantages and disadvantages. So now let us continue from where we stopped last time by looking on the third topic, book 2, that's agriculture and climate change. So by the end of this topic, at least you should be able to define the term climate change. At least this is just good, just because you covered a little bit in primary, so it will be easy for you to follow. Apart from that, at least you should also be able to list the causes of climate change, and also the other thing, at least you should be able to discuss the effects of climate change on land, on crops, on livestock, as well as on livelihood. So the main focus here in Form 3 on climate change will be on the definition, the causes of climate change, as well as the effects of climate change. So this topic, of course, we're also going to cover in Form 4, where we're going to look on the mitigation measures. Let us now start with the meaning of climate change. But before we start, we define climate change. There are two terms there, climate as well as change. So in primary, we defined climate as to all weather elements of an area observed over a long period of time, usually maybe over 20 to 30 years. So that's climate. That's the meaning of the term climate. So the weather elements we are talking about here, we're talking of rainfall or precipitation, we're talking of temperature, we are also talking of wind. Apart from that, we're talking of relative humidity, as well as even light. So these are the weather elements we are talking about, which are observed over a long period of time, making it to be climate. So different parts of the world are classified into climatic zones depending on their climate. So different parts of the world, they are classified into climatic zones depending on their pattern of temperature, rainfall, relative humidity, light, so on and so forth. This has over the years changed, and we are observing area that used to be suitable for growing a particular crop because of their weather pattern. The crops were growing well in the past, but now those crops are no longer performing well. So this is all because of the change in the climate, the change in temperature, the change in rainfall received, the change in humidity, light, so on and so forth. So that's making that term climate change. So how can we define climate change? We can define climate change as gradual change in the weather element for a particular place. Remember, we're saying that it has been observed that some particular areas they had a different weather element, but now the weather elements have changed. So that's the term now, climate change. So what has caused the change in climate? What has caused the change in climate? So let us now look on the causes of climate change. So factors that led to climate change can be put into two categories. We can just categorize into two the causes. We have what we call natural causes, natural processes or natural causes, as well as human activities or human causes. So let us describe what are these natural causes which has led to climate change, or as well as what are these human activities or human causes that has led to climate change. Let's start with natural causes. The Earth's climate can be influenced by natural factors outside the climate system. So these ones, they are done naturally. No one is altering them, but they are done naturally, though the influence is not that much on climate change. So such factors may include volcanic eruptions, change in Earth's orbit around the sun, changes in solar radiation. On volcanic eruption, I think you have ever learned in geography that there's some casual eruptions in a volcano in different areas. So they are in form of some sort of fire. Yeah, they cause some fire. So when there is too much heat from those magma, you find out that there will be burning of some of the fossils. So sulfur oxide is produced. So sulfur oxide is regarded as one of the greenhouse gas. It's one of the greenhouse gas of which the experiments have shown that those greenhouse gases, they are the ones which will lead to increase in temperature, thereby changing the weather pattern as well. Apart from that, we have change in Earth orbit around the sun. This is pure geography. We know for sure that the Earth revolve as well as rotate around the sun. So as the Earth will be rotating around the sun, what happens that there'll be the other part which will be close to the sun, thereby or exposed to the sun, thereby receiving much heat, increasing the temperature. So increase in temperature will also lead to change in other weather pattern as well. So change in Earth's orbit around the sun may also lead to climate change. Apart from that, changes in solar radiation. I think you have ever heard in geography that we have polar regions as well as equatorial regions. Most of the time, the polar regions, they receive less heat from the sun. So the temperatures most of the times are extremely low. But some areas receive too much heat from the sun. So once they receive too much heat from the sun, there will be increase in temperature, thereby also leading to changes in weather, other weather pattern apart from temperature. So as I've already said, that these natural factors have very little significance in climate change. But the factors which have much significance in climate change are human causes. So under human causes, these are some of the factors. Number one is production of greenhouse gases. There are some of the activities done by man which lead to too much production of the greenhouse gases. Of course, these greenhouse gases, they are just okay if they are in little if there are little production, but if there is too much production of those greenhouse gases, they may cause or they may raise the global temperature. They may raise the global temperature, leading to change in most of the weather pattern. So these we are talking of the gases such as carbon dioxide, we are talking of methane, we are talking of nitrous oxide, as well as fluorocarbons. So these gases, they raise the global temperature. They raise the global temperature. So on the same examples of greenhouse gases, for example, carbon dioxide, this is the most significant human-induced cause of climate change. Too much release of carbon dioxide most of the times is due to human activities. For example, the population will cut down trees. They'll be destroying vegetation, or they'll be destroying the trees. So we know for sure that those trees or those vegetation, they will use carbon dioxide or absorb carbon dioxide, and they are in the process of photosynthesis. So once they are cut, it means there'll be nothing to absorb that carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. So there'll be high concentration of carbon dioxide once those vegetations are destroyed. So that's why we were saying it's due to human activities. And also it is released in large quantities from burning fossil fuels such as petroleum, coal, as well as even natural gases. So carbon dioxide leads to significant raising of global temperature. This can be one of the reasons that the carbon dioxide, once it is released to the atmosphere and reaches what we call the ozone layer, we learned in primary that the ozone layer, we're talking of the layer which will protect the earth from receiving too much heat from the sun. So that ozone layer can easily be destroyed by carbon dioxide. This carbon dioxide, if mixed with water, it forms carbonic acid. So that carbonic acid can dissolve any hardy material. Apart from that, we have methane. The most significant source of methane is decomposition of organic matter, such as in landfills and in agriculture. As well as this is also produced through the digestion in ruminant animals. They produce significant amount of methane. So it's all due to human cause, just because we are the ones which are raising those animals. Apart from that, we are the ones which we use those organic matter as fertilizers. So through their decomposition, when those organic matters are decomposing, they will produce the methane gas, which will also lead to raise in the global temperature. Apart from that, nitrous gas, this is a very powerful greenhouse gas produced through production of the use of organic fertilizer and burning of fossil fuels. So it's all because of human activities as well. Then we also have fluorocarbons. These are produced for industries to use as refrigerating and as air conditioned compounds. These compounds, though they help in refrigerating as well as air conditioning, but they are also harmful, which may also lead to increase in global temperature. So these greenhouse gases, we're saying they will cause climate change by raising the global temperature. Once the global temperature is raised, it means various weather patterns can be changed. We talk of humidity, we talk of even rainfall pattern will also be changed. Another human activity, the cause of human activity is what we call aerosol. Some human activities lead to an increase in the amount of aerosols in the atmosphere. These aerosols absorb solar and infrared radiation, hence raising the global temperature. So there are some of the activities played by humans which may lead to the increase of those aerosols into the atmosphere. So some of the activities are dust released into the atmosphere by tilling land when they are very dry. So when you are tilling the land, it is very dry, there are some dust which are released. So aerosols, we're just talking of the some of the particles which are not meant to be in the atmosphere, but yet they are there in the atmosphere. So one of the thing is the dust. Apart from that, burning of biomass leads to production of soot particles. So once you burn the biomass, there will be smoke being released. So some particles from the smoke, they will still hang in the atmosphere. Apart from that, industrial processes also produce a variety of aerosols. We also talk of exhaust fumes from engine. They also produce those aerosols. So they can be in form of dust, can be in form of smoke. So some particles will still hang there into the atmosphere. So those particles, they are the ones which will absorb solar and infrared radiation, hence raising the global temperature and affecting the different weather patterns. Another common human activity is deforestation. This is the indiscriminate clearing of forest cover, which leads to change in the land surface. So the removal of land surface cover leads to changes in the amount of light reflected from the Earth's surface back to the space. And also, once deforestation has taken place, as I've already said, it means there will be too much concentration of carbon dioxide, since those trees, they will absorb a good amount of carbon dioxide for their plant, photosynthesis process. So once they are cut, it means there will be too much carbon dioxide concentration into the atmosphere. What are these effects now of climate change? Climate change impacts on agriculture and people's livelihoods in different ways. So we are going to discuss on the effects of climate change on land. We are also going to discuss the effects of climate change on livelihood. We are also going to discuss on the effects of climate change on livestock, and also not forgetting on crops. So let us start on the impact or effect of climate change on land. Number one, climate change comes with erratic rainfall due to indiscriminate deforestation. The ever-increasing need for more land, more arable land, and need for fuel energy has aggravated to deforestation. So this deforestation, of course, is due to her increase in population. So one of the impact of climate change we're saying is erratic rainfall. Once we have cut the trees, we know for sure that these trees brings about rainfall. So once they are cut, there will be a disturbance in the rainfall pattern. Apart from that, seasonal droughts is one of the effects of climate change that gradually give way to aridity, leading to loss of arable land. Climate change has also come with floods. This is not new. We have ever heard that there are floods here and there, including the lower Shire. We have ever been hearing such things. So these floods may lead to serious land degradation by forming a large gullies and consequently loss of arable land. Apart from that, changing woodlands. Here, due to changing temperature, trees adapted to a particular temperature as the condition changes. So the habitat becomes unsuitable for the trees. The last thing is landslides and mudslides, degrading the land for agricultural activities. So these are some of the effects of climate change. So what can be the impacts of effects of climate change on crops? Due to climate change, more especially increase in temperature, this leads to multiplication of crop pests. Warm climate increases production and rate of growth of crop pests, hence reducing crop production. Apart from that, high carbon dioxide concentration stimulates growth of certain crops, thereby increasing their yield. However, the crop produced may be of low quality. And also erratic rainfall and droughts. These may lead to total crop failure, lowering the expected yield. Another impact is flooding. Flooding most times makes the land waterlogged, damaging the crops already grown, lowering the crop yield. So flooding most times will lead to soil waterlogging, and most of the crops do not grow well where there is too much water, so lowering crop yield. I think on the same flooding, this may also wipe away the crop plants. They may be carried away, also leading to low production. Another impact of climate change on crops. Climate change has come with strong winds. These cause breakages of tree crops and lodging of annual crops, affecting the expected yield. So in this case, plant lodging, we're referring to the falling down of plants. So those heavy winds, once they blow, they will lead to the plants falling down. So once the plants have fallen down, most times that will affect the quantity as well as quality of the crop produce. Apart from that, landslides again and mudslides may destroy crops already grown into the field, and increased hailstones may also cause serious damage to crops in the field, such as tea, lowering the we also talk of tobacco, lowering the output of the crop. Then we also have flash floods and intense rainfall. These they have come all because of climate change, so lead to loss of top fertile soil. Once the top fertile soil is lost, this reduces the potential of the land to produce high crop yield. Remember, when we are looking on the soil profile, we say that the top layer of the soil is the one which is much more productive. So just because it is rich in nutrients. So once it is lost, it means production in crop yield will be reduced. And also unpredictable weather patterns. Most of the times climate change, even though I think you have ever seen that those who are predicting the weather, what will come, let's say in the following day, you find out that they have missed. It's all the signs of climate change. So this leads to unpredictable weather patterns. So these unpredictable weather patterns leave the farmers unable to make appropriate decisions, such as time for land preparation, time for planting, so on and so forth. So all this may lead to too early or delayed planting, consequently lowering the expected yield. What can be the impacts of climate change on livestock now? Increased temperature may cause heat stress in animals in areas that were initially cooler. For example, in most of the places here in the northern region, at least they were cooler, but now those places that are no longer cooler as they were, at least the temperature has increased a little bit. So the animals which were being raised in those particular areas adapted the cooler environment, but now the environment has changed in the sense that it is a little bit warm or even hot, that stresses the animals, and that can lead to low production in animals. And also low rainfall and drought may lead to low quantity fodder for livestock, so there will be less feeds available for livestock. So the consequence there can be low livestock growth and output as well. And also the same increased temperature leads to faster multiplication of growth of livestock parasites such as ticks as well as sassafly. Their conducive environment is that environment the temperature which is a little bit warm. So this subsequently leads to increased vector-borne diseases negatively affecting the livestock industry. Apart from that, climate change, we're talking there'll be erratic rainfall as well as drought, so that will lead to low water levels. So this will also lead to low fish stocks, and some water bodies even dry completely. I think we've ever heard that Lake Chirwa, that was in 1995, also experienced the same, dried completely. So that resulted to total loss of biodiversity, so some of which are endemic to Malawi. Apart from that, temperature changes will influence the distribution of livestock, as areas that were previously could become warmer with time. So we know that we have different types of animals which will be raised better in different temperatures. So if the temperature changes, it means those animals that are no longer supposed to be raised in that particular area. So it will influence the distribution of livestock. Now let us look on the last part, which is the impact of climate change on livelihood. Climate change can lead to increase in food insecurity, which leads to malnutrition and hunger. This results in reduced farm labor and chronic food deficit. As we are all aware that climate change brings about erratic rainfall as well as even drought or dry spells. So all this will lead to failure in crop production as well as livestock production. So thereby there will be food insecurity. So because of less amount of food available in most of the families, members may be experiencing malnutrition as well as, or they may be affected by malnutrition as well as hunger. And also floods leads to water pollution, lowering the quality of pure water. This may result to outbreak of waterborne diseases. We are talking of dysentery, and now we are hit by cholera. It's all because of low quality of water which we are using. And also low water levels in rivers and dams have impacted negatively on hydroelectric power generation such as river Shire. So climate change, was saying that may lead to low water levels in most of water bodies, and also sometimes the water bodies may dry up. So that will affect hydroelectric power. The electricity which we are using, almost 90% in the area we are in our land, Malawi, we are using hydroelectric power. So if there will be low levels of water, it will be difficult to generate electricity. Such that type of electricity will need at least huge volumes of water. So this forces people to use alternative sources of fuel such as biomass, leading to further deforestation. Apart from that, spread of malaria and other vector-borne diseases in areas previously too cool for the vectors to survive. As already said, that most of the areas like in the northern region, they were a little bit cool, but now they are warm or there's too much heat. So that will increase to, will lead to multiplication of like mosquito, which may cause the spread of malaria. Apart from that, floods also lead to siltation of dams and other water bodies, lowering their capacity for storing water. So the floods may also damage water pipes, compounding the problem of clean water shortage. Low water supply impacts negatively in industries as they do not get adequate water. This may lead to loss of highly needed employment for sustainable livelihood. Another impact is on the same floods. These floods are responsible for the destruction of most of the constructions like fish ponds, leading to loss of livelihoods for forest fires are more prevalent during dry seasons. So such fires lead to loss of seedlings and biodiversity of a given region. In the rural communities, means women have to travel for long distances in search of water for domestic use. This translates to less meaningful work done in the crop field, bearing in mind that women are the major providers of labor in small-scale farming. So these are some of the effects of climate change on livelihood, livestock, crops, as well as land. So here are some of the questions I need you to go through. Try to answer all of the 5 questions which I've listed here. So next time I will discuss on a new topic that's on irrigation. A new topic that's on irrigation. So till then, goodbye.